All right, class, let's dive in. Now, I want you to forget about the neat, clean models of perfect competition and pure monopolies for a moment, because the truth is, most of the real business world, we're talking tech, airlines, automotive, operates in a much more interesting and, frankly, a far more dangerous space, the oligopoly. See, this isn't just another market structure from your textbook, it's a strategic battlefield, and understanding its unwritten rules is absolutely critical for any of you who actually want to win in the real world.
This gets right to the heart of everything we're talking about today. In an oligopoly, your decisions on pricing, on marketing, even on how many units to produce are never, ever made in a vacuum. Every single move you make is a gambit, played with a handful of powerful rivals who are watching your every step. Your success isn't just about being efficient, it's about anticipating your rival's fear and methodically plotting your retaliation.
So, where exactly does an oligopoly fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, before you can even begin to craft a winning strategy, you have to know the landscape you're fighting on. So let's quickly map out the entire spectrum of market structures just so we can see what makes this market of the few so unique and so strategically complex. Okay, so on one extreme, you've got the theoretical chaos of perfect competition. Think of thousands of individual farmers, all of them price takers with absolutely zero market power. On the complete other end, you have the absolute unchecked power of a pure monopoly. But the real action, where most modern industries actually live and die, is in that vast, strategically rich territory right in the middle. And that, right there, is the oligopoly. Here's your textbook definition. But listen, for a manager, the only words here that truly matter are small number and dominate. Why? Because those two factors combined to create three non-negotiable features that define this incredibly tense and uniquely challenging competitive environment. Now, as a manager, you absolutely must be able to spot these features in your industry. I mean it. They are the fundamental DNA of an oligopoly. Understanding this blueprint is the first and most critical step to navigating and hopefully dominating this kind of market structure. Now, look at these three pillars. They are not separate concepts. You have to see them as a powerful feedback loop. It starts with a few dominant sellers. Then they're protected from new competition by these high barriers to entry. And because they're all effectively trapped in the market together, they are forced into a state of constant critical interdependence. One leads to the next, which reinforces the first. Let's really deconstruct this. Think about airlines. The reason you only have a few major players is because of those massive barriers. We're talking about the astronomical capital needed for a fleet of aircraft, for airport gates, for navigating complex regulations. That barrier is why you only end up with a handful of players. So you see, the first two pillars are a simple cause and effect, but it's that third pillar, interdependence, that truly ignites the strategic game. That's the one you cannot afford to ignore. This right here, this is the absolute game changer. It's not just about knowing your competitors exist. In perfect competition, one farmer's output is completely irrelevant to another. But in an oligopoly, your fates are inextricably linked. When American Airlines changes its pricing on the New York to LA route, you can bet that Delta and United feel it immediately in their booking numbers and on their bottom line. This is what forces that constant strategic chess match. So, what does this interdependence actually feel like from the CEO's chair? Well, it's a constant, nerve-wracking cycle of action, reaction, and anticipation. You're never just setting a price. You're sending a signal out into the market, and you're waiting for the counter signal from your rival. This is the question that should keep a manager in an oligopoly up at night. This is not some hypothetical business school problem. It's a direct threat. And in a market with only a handful of players, a response isn't just likely, it is absolutely guaranteed. The only real question is how they will retaliate. And here's where the strategy becomes so dangerous. Your rival might not just match your 10% price cut. No, they might escalate. They might drop their own rate by a punishing 15% to make you pay for starting the fight and to aggressively steal your market share. This is how a devastating price war starts, where really the only winner is the customer, and every single company involved watches their profits just evaporate. And this is the crucial takeaway from all this. You are not a price taker, blindly accepting whatever the market rate is. But you are also not a price maker, able to set prices with impunity like a monopolist. You are a price strategist. Every price you set is an offensive or a defensive weapon, and it's shaped by the ever-present fear of retaliation and a constant, detailed analysis of your rival's next move.
Okay, let's take all this theory and see how this strategic chess game plays out in the real world. We're going to look at the Tanjung Lesung Special Economic Zone. It's a perfect microcosm of these oligopolistic dynamics playing out within the tourism sector.
We can see two really clear examples right here. In the large resort market, you've got a few key players like Kalika and Lintas Samudra. They don't just set their own prices, they actually establish a benchmark that the smaller players are forced to follow. They become the price leaders, and their strategic decisions effectively dictate the profitability of the entire local market.
Now, with the boat charters, the strategy is a bit simpler, but the barrier is just as real. Here, the oligopoly isn't formed by complex price signaling, it's formed by hard economics. The massive upfront investment for a safe, high-capacity vessel naturally limits the number of players who can even enter the game. So for a manager in this market, the strategy isn't about daily price wars. It's about leveraging that capital advantage to maintain control and constantly reinforce that barrier to entry.
So here's the bottom line for any of you operating in a market like this. Your success won't be defined by trimming costs by 2%. It will be defined by correctly predicting your rival's move 3 steps ahead. You have to think more like a chess grandmaster and less like an accountant, because this is about game theory, not just cost accounting. So we have seen that an oligopoly is defined by interdependence, it's driven by high barriers, and it's lived as a constant strategic game. The key is to think beyond your own firm and to anticipate the reactions of your rivals. Which brings us to the fundamental tension in these markets. Who really holds the power? You see, intense rivalry can drive prices down, which benefits consumers, but a quiet, unspoken truce can keep prices high for everyone. As you go on to analyze the industries you'll one day lead, always start by asking, where does the power truly lie?